Welcome to Clay's Cortex.
What is up, y'all? Welcome to the next episode of Clay's Cortex, the podcast. Got Arthur, he's back. Say what up.
What's up, y'all? How you doing? How you doing?
Right, so we're gonna be talking about a topic today that kind of, it's I guess it's more of in the life category of the podcast, but I'm gonna ask Arthur questions. We're gonna dialogue back and forth, also related to training and business a little bit too. So what the topic is today, we're gonna be talking about, the title of the podcast is Your Environment Molds You, right? Slash, I guess another way to think about that is your environment impacts / shapes you into who you are. Right, so if you didn't get a catch of the preview, right, you can go into Instagram, or if you have Instagram, look up Clay's Cortex. It's just Clay, right, C-L-A-Y with an S, and then Cortex. If you can't spell Cortex, Google it, right? I'm just kidding. And then Arthur, his Instagram handle is Arthur_the Kiln, and you can follow him on there. He puts out great content, great things to think about, and he works here at Curtis Clay Training. So we're gonna get into this podcast, and so. This week at Curtis Clay Training on the Instagram account, been doing posts about your environment, right? And preparing your body for the environment that you're about to be in. And so what I wanted to talk about during this podcast for Clay's Cortex, it got me thinking, right, about how, and I gave an analogy in one of them on Monday of whenever, if you go to that page, and I said, it was snowing here in Washington, and I said the way to prepare to go outside when it's snowing is you don't step outside in your underwear and then get dressed and adapt to the environment. And then I thought about it and was like, wait, that's how some people operate. Because whatever environment you're in, you have to adjust to, right? So when I said something like that, and thinking about that, how do you think about that? Or like, is there anything you want to add before we kind of really get going?
I mean, I think kind of the same thing just today is actually when you kind of told me that this is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. It's raining outside. And the same kind of thing is like, before you go outside in the rain, you're not, I mean, most people, unless you want to go play in the rain, that's a different scenario.
It's a different scenario.
But yeah, you're probably going to want to put, your hoodie on, your jacket on, that type of deal before you get out into the rain. Maybe even some rain boots. My Vans just got pretty muddy today.
Ooh,
so
man.
I was like, no.
Actually, I don't even own any rain boots if I think about it.
Yeah.
Jackie, my wife used to make fun of me because I didn't own a jacket with a hood before I met her. She's like, you live in Washington. I was like, well, I was in Georgia for a few years. I was like, I don't know, right? So, which was pretty funny. So, yeah, man, does it even rain in Kansas?
Oh yeah, it rains. It definitely rains in Kansas, but yeah, not as much, not as much here.
Yeah, well, it doesn't rain that much. It's actually been pretty good since you've been here.
I thought it's been,
Today, it's like, I hate the whole cats and dogs thing. Because like if it was actually raining cats and dogs, that'd be super weird. But reminds me of this book I read. It's like the town of Spaghettiville. It's like a book for my daughter Light, and like they don't have stores and stuff because it just rains food.
Oh, that's awesome.
So whatever it rains, that's on the menu.
That's great.
Anyways.
I love that. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
Yes, it's like that, right?
Got you.
So sorry, I digress from that. So the environment, right? So there's like that quote or saying, and it talks about essentially, the company you keep, or you are the company that you keep, essentially, right? So like who you surround yourself with and so forth. So we're gonna be talking about a couple different areas. We're gonna obviously be talking about life, which encompasses all of this, but then we're talking about like your friends, mentors, environments, and we're gonna cover a couple of different actual environments after we go through those things. So, I'm trying to think where we should start first. Like friends or mentors? What do you think?
Man, let's start with friends.
Friends? Yeah.
I moved here.
Yeah, bro. Oh, hey, there you go. Right, so let me ask you, why did you move here, right? So why did you come to Washington?
Yeah, so, I, first of all, love all my homies back in Kansas. Let's start with that. But there is, I like to, I would say I'm kind of a visionary kind of guy, and I have, I think we all have expectations.
Like a dreamer almost?
Yeah, a dreamer. Yeah, I was going to say that. Then I said
sorry, I cut you
No,
off.
you're good. No, you're good. But yeah, so it's kind of like, I think we all are dreamers to a degree, but there was, I was at this point in my life where I was trying to step into kind of following those dreams and really pursuing those dreams, which is, just trying to become the best most successful strength coach, personal trainer that I can be.
Right.
And I had a good workflow in Kansas City, but it was kind of this whole environment thing where, you know, I had certain expectations of things that I wanted to get done for myself.
Yeah.
But because I was kind of surrounded by certain kind of behaviors and things like that, I found that I was constantly kind of doing this kind of head on, you know, one day is a great day, the next day it's like, hey, you're going back to kind of maybe slipping through the cracks, not fully putting all your pursuits into what you want to do.
Right.
And so that's when it was kind of like, all right, well, this isn't happening right now. And so I got to kind of take a step back and look at, you know, one, why isn't it happening, and two, what can I do to kind of maybe get myself into a new environment, so that I can hopefully, you know, start blossoming in the direction that I want to blossom in.
I love it, man.
Yeah,
man. So you came here because you felt like some of the people here that you connected with would help challenge you and help you grow in the areas you wanted to when it comes to being a successful strength coach, whatever you want to call yourself.
Right.
To hopefully you thought that this step and think that this step will help that vision come true. The steps to go forward.
100%.
Love it, dude. And I love that, right? So, you know, I believe that like the friends and the people you're around and how they behave does impact you to some aspect. I even think this is kind of like off topic, but I even think the music that you listen to impacts you, right? And I'm not going to get into detail of why I truly believe that. But yeah, the music you listen to, who you surround yourself with on a regular basis, if they're not pushing you or holding you better, or they're not also striving that way, it's hard to be like, well, I'm good where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like society nowadays typically does like a mediocre amount of work, but they expect an exceptional payment or result or whatever it is with mediocre. Well, I did just enough. I did better than that guy, right? And I guess for me, I've never, like Jackie told me this quote, there's no joy in comparison, right? Because you're you and I'm me. We're here to help one another, but if you compare yourself to me and I compare myself to you, there's strengths that you have that I don't have, right? Just like all the guys here, we each have our own strength and we can leverage those, but together collectively, we can really be something better than by ourselves. And that's why I enjoy the whole aspect of environment and community. But I do believe that the people or friends you surround yourself with on a regular basis do impact how you operate or how you conduct yourself. You might like, and this is kind of like an identity thing. Like, this is who I am, but then you get around, say, like me in college, like my teammates and stuff, right? I'd never been to Georgia.
Yeah.
I didn't know the Georgian way or whatever you want to call it, right? And so I was like, man, what do these guys do? Okay, they eat a lot and blah, blah. Like, so I had to assimilate myself into that. Now, the first few months there, did I waver a little bit in some decisions that I made and who I was? Yeah, potentially to some aspect. Not to a bad degree, but enough to where I had to take a step back and be like, you know what? That's not me. I came here on a mission, play baseball, get my degree, and I still want to hang out with them, but I don't want to go out with them all the time, or like, man, I got to study or whatever, because they went to a lot of like concerts, because they had like local artists playing all the time there, which was cool. Yeah. And I love that, but I'm like, hey, I want to do that to connect with my teammates, but that's taking me away from my goal, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, have you? That sounds like kind of why you came here.
Yeah, that's kind of the similar deal. And again, it's not that any of my friends back home, I love hanging out with them, love doing all that stuff with them. But it was kind of and again, not to diss them, but it just seemed as if I was trying to advance a little bit sooner than what they were kind of wanting to do. And now I have a buddy who's moving here next week, one of my best friends from 4th grade, and I can tell that he's kind of and even from being here just now and watching him on social media and stuff, you still kind of see like, I'm over here like, hey Ray, come on bro, like step up dude. And it's been cool to kind of see him want to step into that on his own. And so it's really cool to just kind of understand. And I'm not saying that he's the reason or I'm the reason he's moving here, but I think
could be, man.
I think it could potentially be like, all right, Artie's made the big move, he's still alive and kicking, it's my turn to kind of follow suit or whatever. And so
what's cool with that, like hearing you say that right now, because I know he's moving out. I think I saw you post it, but I wasn't sure. Like I thought you just come to visit.
Got you.
I think what's really cool about that is that you took a leap, right? Sometimes we got to take a leap out of a current environment that we're in that may not be the best for us. Not to say that it's the worst, but it's okay to get something better, right? Like if I look at a caterpillar, for example, right? They go on this journey, right? Like the hungry caterpillar that read delight all the time. They're eating, one strawberry day 1, and then this, and then it's day 6, and they eat and then they eat a leafy green and they're fine, right? And then they go in the cocoon. We're all, I think, to some aspect, depending on the environment we're in, like that caterpillar's in the cocoon, ready to blossom.
Ready to go.
And once it's ready to blossom, and sometimes if you look at that, when it's in the cocoon, it's confined, it's restricted. And then once it's done being changed and grown into a butterfly, then it launches from there. And I think there's multiple times throughout within our life when we go through those situations. And I also think that the friends we surround ourselves with can impact how long we stay in that cocoon.
Totally.
Versus get out of the cocoon.
Totally.
Right? Maybe we're ready to get out of that cocoon, but our friends don't want us to change, and not because they don't care about us, because they're in their cocoon. We're just a bunch of cocoons hanging out. One butterfly is going to blossom sooner than the other, right? So I think that's a big thing. Is who you surround yourself with. That's back to the whole company that you keep. Who you surround yourself with, if they're causing you to level up, to get better, whatever term you want to use, makes a big difference, right? So, which I think is pretty cool, right? So if we can continue to grow, right? So that's a life thing for sure. Let's talk about mentors, right? Mentors, like they definitely shape and change us. Do you want to talk about that first? Like multiple mentors, because I know you've been to a lot of like courses, clinics, different stuff, weekend things. Like from that, how do you think mentors impact or have shaped you?
It's a really good question. So, well, I guess I don't know really how to start that, dude.
I can start if you want.
Yeah, let's
what a blessing.
Let's have you start that.
What a blessing. What a blessing. Sorry, if you're watching this, I was texting my wife. She texted me. Anywho, yeah, mentors, man. I think this is probably the biggest area of change and growth for me, which helped kind of put me on my back of my path. I went to Georgia. I knew my mission while I was going there, right? And actually, I'm not going to get into this, but it was actually, I think I went there to play baseball and get education, but it turned into something more. That's probably for later on. If you want to ask, come in person and talk to me. But yeah, mentors, man. I think mentors are like the people that shape and mold you for sure, because you look up to them, right? And that could be in a multitude of things, like, I think Greg Mack's a mentor to me, right? Probably to all of us now.
Yep.
Matt Bernier,
Totally.
mentor for sure, right? Jacques coming out here for a course, seeing how he operates. That's a mentor. I look up to him and how he does things professionally, film-wise, whatever it is. Reese, man, how he handles this stuff. But if I go back to where it all started for me was when it came to my godfathers, right? I because I've never met my dad, right? So I've never met my dad. I don't know the full story. I get glimpses of what happened and so forth, which is here nor there. But I'm actually kind of blessed because of that environment, and that's later on in the podcast. I won't jump ahead. But I had a guy and his wife. They essentially were going to adopt me, and they didn't because my mom decided to keep me. And how they connected, it was completely like I believe God's hand was completely in it, how it was orchestrated. And so he told my mom, gave her no option, was like, we're his godparents, straight up. And that was probably the biggest blessing I've ever had in my life, because he helped shape, like, I probably try to mimic my life after how he carried himself. And there's one thing that I know, he's told me many one-liners, but there's one thing that always stuck with me. There's two things, actually. The first thing was, he goes, your actions should speak so loud that you shouldn't have to say a word for others to know what you would say. And that spoke out to me. And so he was a big actions guy. Like, your actions should line up with your words. And that was a huge thing for me. And so even growing up, I was kind of quiet. I'm not really quiet anymore. But just those, just those little things now, if my actions don't line up, it really impacts me.
Totally.
And there's a lot of other things along the way that he's helped shape and mold me. And now, also another thing he told me when it came to sports, but it also applies to life, is essentially, he said, you should work so hard every single day that if you ever took a day off, the guy that's trying to take your spot has no chance getting there because you've worked that hard every single day.
I like that.
And that's how I approach every single day. If I take a day off, or like if I take the weekend off, nobody's going to catch me, right? And I'm saying athletically, but even in business, right? If you're consistent over time, it makes a big difference. We talk about that with exercise with people, right? If you can be consistent, it makes a difference. So those two things really stuck out to me. Then my other godfather, Hutch, man, I mean, he was a pastor, solid dude, man, and just like, he had a way with words, right? Like, he was so intelligent, and he could read people, right? So I'm a big observer. I like to watch people, And just observing him carry himself and talk to people, he was never fake at all. He was always him all the time, and it was unbelievable to see, and he taught me so much. So it was kind of cool because like Uncle David took a job in Texas when I was like probably 14, 15, and then Hutch was like, hey, I'm going to step into that role in person, but he's still your godfather. So then it kind of shifted, and so I grew those two relationships, and I look back at it, and it helped shape me into who I am and how I operate, how I do things, how I am in my marriage, how I run the business, how I want you guys to come in and give you guys ownership and give you guys control. You know, just a lot of little stuff. So teaching-wise and learning-wise, I've been mentored that way from many different courses, which has opened my eyes. But the true mentors have really shaped me because I wouldn't be who I am. And then I think the last mentor I have that's really shaped me, who I go through life with, is Jackie. I got my hair cut today. And I talked about Jackie to this girl, and Jackie is unbelievable. She took it's crazy, dude. She took over from where they left off to help make me who I am today. I look up to Jackie. Jackie's unbelievable. My wife, man. I mean, I just look at her and how she operates and does things. She's a freaking boss, dude. So she's helped shape and mold me, right? So, and I guess you could call her a friend. So she's in that friend category, but she's more than a friend or whatever. So I think that mentors play a massive factor in shaping and molding you and impacting you into who you are, just like your friends are. So it's a multifaceted thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'll let Arthur take over. I'm talking for a little bit. So mentors wise, bro.
I mean, I think kind of feeding off, you know, with your whole actions kind of speak louder than words. I mean, you know, I think for all of us here, I'm speaking for all of us, but I'll kind of share my, you know, you are a mentor to all of us here.
I appreciate that, man.
And I think, you know, kind of going back to the whole actions speak louder than words is I have a very vivid memory. We started this whole MAT stuff together. That's the journey we were on. And our buddy Jazz, you know, we all kind of lived in the room together. And it was just, you know, Jazz and I were a little bit more like, hey, you know, class is done for the day, you know. And I was always able to come home, even though maybe I wasn't necessarily, you know, I was kind of more of an unwinder after class, but we would always come back to the room. And you were just consistently sitting there.
I'm a nerd.
And I love it, dude. I love it because I'm a nerd too, but you know, and it was just really cool because, you know, for me, that was my college. Like that was my kind of educational, hey, after high school, I'm going here. And so it was really cool to just like be in that surrounding environment where, okay, I'm seeing this dude Curtis over here, and he's like, you know, sitting here, and he's, you know, being pretty focused, and you know, he's having fun too.
Yeah,
but like, you know, and it was just, it gave me something to look up to, and you know, and since that point, I mean, it's a very, you know, I'm not going to get too into there's a very specific moment. I'm not going to get too into that, but I just kind of like really remember like, man, dude, this guy is just awesome. Like he is just awesome. And, you know, he was super chill about what was going on, but he was also like, hey, I'm doing my thing right now. And so, yeah, that, you know, basically that was kind of the moment where I was like, man, I really kind of want to, again, like just like you with your godfather, kind of model your life after that. There's definitely a piece where I'm like, you know, I look up to you and I'm like, dude, this dude knows what's up. He's creative, he's thoughtful, you know, intelligent and all that stuff. And again, I think we all kind of think about that here at the Kiln. So that's just pretty cool. And then outside of that, you know, you talked about some of the events and retreats and stuff I've gone to. And I think that's kind of, you know, if we're getting a little spiritual with it, I think there was definitely a hard point in my life where, you know, I went through some pretty traumatic stuff, and I definitely kind of started taking Christianity a little bit more serious. You know, I was reading the Bible every night, kind of doing that, and then I really don't know how I kind of fell out of that, but there was just kind of this point where I'd say I'm a pretty spiritual dude, and I still don't know if I have a full definition of what that looks like right now. But it was starting to kind of, you know, Elliot Hulse, who you kind of actually saw you comment on one of his videos the other day. I was like, hey, let's go. But that was about freshman year in high school, or I'm sorry, college, like kind of that time. And I started just kind of watching his stuff, and it was more about just how he was presenting himself to the world. And, you know, just kind of really, he had this whole saying that the body is the mind. And so just really, you know, getting into your body, feeling, you know, processing through things, you know, if you need to scream, freaking scream and let it out versus, you know, hold it down or whatever. Just kind of all that stuff. And, you know, I mean, I just remember, you know, I was very into it. There was just certain, you know, even at parties, I'd be like, what's up? You know, like, ah. And sometimes, you know, it looks a little woo-woo crazy from the outside, but I really just vibed with his message of, you know, just getting in touch with yourself, getting to know yourself. Because, and again, I don't know fully with the scripture stuff, but, you know, the Spirit is within us. And so if you can get more in touch with that, however that looks like, whether you're praying, whether you're bouncing up and down, letting stuff out, you know, I think it's all kind of just, so really to shorten it up, it's just, he was kind of my guide of leading me down a direction for me to handle and process through things.
Sure.
So I kind of look up to him, and then, you know, I would say he was kind of the main staple, and still, you know, he's definitely switched his message a little bit now. And, he's very into the MGTOW, men go their own way kind of deal. And, you know, I agree with certain things that he says, but I think the old Elliot is more what I resonate with for sure.
I feel you, man.
But yeah, and then one other mentor is my grandfather. I freaking love that dude. I love that dude. He is just one of the most grade A, charismatic, you know, I mean, so every year for Christmas, like, family is very, very important to him, and that's kind of, you know, the Italian thing is kind of, familia. But since I've been, you know, before I was born, we've had this tradition where every year for Christmas, we get together for like 2 weeks at a beach house, and it's all kind of supported through my grandfather. And we just kind of have an Italian, you know, get together, feast. We're feasting every night, and he just, I mean, the fact that it's just really cool to have that in my life, to look up to, that one, you know, family, you got a guy who's, you know, makes a huge effort to keep the family together. And then two, you know, he was an orthodontist. He's very successful business-wise. And so it's just really, we just have a really good relationship. You know, I feel like I can call him whenever I need to call him. So I just really look up to him overall. And I think he's definitely helped kind of shape me, you know, to some degree.
Yeah, man. Even if it's like like, you're unconscious of it, like, there's just things that they do that continue to shape and mold you that you may carry on, right? Which is super cool. Yeah, man, I mean, it's like your mentors, right? So who you choose to follow is a big thing, right? So, like, and I just want to kind of toss this in, but like, who you follow on Instagram, whether you're a trainer or whatever, like, who you follow, you're gonna probably mimic them a little bit, right? Get inspired, right? Which isn't a bad thing. YouTube, who you follow on YouTube, like Elliot Holtz. That's how I first heard about him, was through YouTube. When I was like, when I got out of college, like, I'm just posting YouTube videos, you know, like, this guy, like, this guy's tight, man. But the cool thing about it is he was trying to encourage men to handle their stuff, right? Get stronger, answer those questions. And that's why I commented on his post recently. He was talking about essentially, hey, you got to provide something for people, which I thought was pretty cool. But who you follow makes a big difference. Kind of similar to the whole aspect of what I was talking about. The music you listen to can change and shape how you speak, how you interpret things, how you view things. Everything can influence everything. But let's get into a little bit more quickly the environments, right? So related to exercise, let's go to you. You came here because of the environment that's here. And the thing that makes up the environment is the people, right? So you talked about the creativeness here at the kiln. It encourages each other. It like stokes a fire, right? Like just the post that you've been doing, the post Xavier's been doing, right? Luke's been posting a little bit, the posts I've been doing for the gym here. I think that it encourages all of us to continue to be creative and educate the community, and hopefully that we can get them to come in so we can actually help them with what we do, because we want to show them, hey, the environment here at the kiln, our Curtis Clay training, it's intentional, it's thoughtful, it's tailored. The exercise programs are for you. We're going to pay attention to you. If you come in once per week for an hour, it's an hour truly where somebody has dedicated everything to you, listening to what you're doing. So that's the environment here, right? 100%. And the thing is depending, everybody operates better in certain environments, right? So, yeah, I wrote down essentially like yoga versus Pilates. People are like, I love yoga and Pilates. It's the environment. There's not really music. There might be some water going in the background. Like I can hear water because on the roof it's raining here. And then versus like powerlifting or CrossFit. It's a high tense. Yeah, you're going, right? So the biggest thing is the environment you choose to put yourself in can either hinder or contribute to you. So like what I'm saying is like if you had a friend that lost a bunch of weight going to CrossFit, right? Because it's just exercise. Pilates is exercise, yoga's exercise, walking's exercise, powerlifting's exercise, they're all forms of exercise. But depending on how you want your exercise makes a difference. If I relate that to that, there's a restaurant here in Washington. Well, actually, they're kind of all over the U.S. It's called Cheesecake Factory. You been cheesecake?
Ooh, I love
Oh yeah, we went to Denver. Cheesecake Factory. There's a multitude of cheesecakes. How do you want? It's cheesecake.
It's all cheesecake.
But how do you want your cheesecake? Right?
Yeah.
That's what exercise is. How do you want your exercise? What type of environment do you want to be in that will help you thrive and grow? Right? Like, you're like, bro, I just like basic cheesecake. And I'm like, that's cool, bro. I get that Oreo, whatever cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory, bro. That's what fills me up. Yeah. So depending on the environment that you're in, it can help you flourish, right? And that's the biggest thing to think about. There's a couple things that can change an environment is the person or the people in that environment can change the attitude of the environment. And that's what I'm talking about, culture, right? Which is crucial, right? So you can also change it via music, your tone of voice, the environment that you're in can help you flourish or can drive you down, right? Which I thought was cool when you said, Elliot, it's like, if you got to scream, or whatever it is. So, the environment here, we try to make it to where it's intentional, personal, and tailored for people, and that's the environment that we are presenting to people or that you want, it's inside of you. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
That's why like common people stick around common people, right? Because we're likewise. And so I guess here the beauty I like of each of us, each have our own strengths, we operate differently, right? Like it was cool, I was talking to Xavier Tuesday and I was like, bro, you're such a good technician.
Yeah.
Right? What sport did he play?
Wrestling.
It's a technical sport. He's good at those things, right?
Yeah.
You're really good at talking and communicating to people, right? It's like, okay, sweet. Well, how did Elliot impact you? By communicating to you, right? And for me, like if I use me for example, it's about actions because it was poured into me. So those mentors, the friends you're around, they can help encourage the environment that lives inside of you so you can create that environment around you. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, the thing that's really coming to my mind right now is kind of, this was actually, so Xavier, which so proud of him, started getting really, he's getting into that social media, bro.
Yeah, he's getting into
I've been waiting for that moment. I know you hear me over there. But I was, it's the like overall like brothership that we all have here. And then it's even, I think every brother has a little competitive side and not in a good or bad way, but I'm seeing Xavier start to pour out these crispy videos and it's like, okay. And Arthur's usually just the guy who turns the camera on, stands in front of it for a few minutes and then says peace. And so it's this, again, we're in an environment where I think we want to build each other up. And so, I said to Xavier the other night, I was like, yo, thank you for making me want to improve how I'm doing my videos.
Right.
Because, it's that overall, we all want to succeed. And I think, you're going to get to success quicker if you're being challenged in a positive way.
For sure.
And so that's kind of just what came to mind through that little conversation.
Love
Just,
it.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Environment, it's crucial. The environment that you put yourself in makes a big difference. Don't step outside in your underwear and get dressed. Just kidding. Anyways, I think that was good for today, man. We could probably keep going. We'll probably continue on with some other fronts from there, but I want to leave you guys with this quote. It says, "Be as careful of the books you read as the company you keep," by Edwin Paxton Hood. So that's back to all the things that you surround yourself with, essentially reading books, music, whatever it is. Be careful what you surround yourself with because it will essentially put you in an environment that either you want to be in, you don't have a choice of being in, or that you want to be in. I think I said that right. So, anywho, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Clay's Cortex, the podcast. Arthur, thanks for coming on. Check him out. Booms. Nuts. Check him out on Instagram. It's Arthur_the Kiln. He has another one too. And